Alright, so coming into the race here, we are at the Le Mans track and we're racing in some GT3 cars, and I believe there might be a mix of other cars for the other competitors, just maybe. And as you can tell, I'm pulling off to the side. I was starting in 10th place, but I wanted to start a little bit further back behind 20th so that I could see how all the AIs react. As you can see, someone already sliding off, and work with them and try doing a lot of overtakes and see how they react to an actual person racing, trying to overtake them, or see if how they handle under pressure as an AI. And right now, I thought this would be a good video to do due to the fact that for PlayStation in general, their servers are down, so we can't play online, and you are still allowed to play offline mode, which I'm sure a lot of people are doing that right now just to get some racing in, and they are playing with AIs. And as you see, I messed up there a little bit. I was just going a little too risky. As you can tell, the AIs so far, they're being pretty competitive and not really giving you the space. And as you see right there, they were kind of out of the slipstream for some reason, but cut back into it last second, which is a little bit abnormal. Which that would lead me into exactly what I want to talk about with how AI, are they realistic to actually racing with other real racers? So if you are wanting to just do an offline race real fast and simulate a race, will you actually get the real racing experience that you would if you were to play online with other individuals? At times, the AI can be very good in GT7, and at times it can be very questionable, make you want to get off of the AI. But like if you saw right there that Ford, it came up and he even took a wider line on accident, maybe would have been a mistake. That is very accurate to what can happen in real racing or in online racing in GT7. And I've seen it happen plenty of times. So there's many moments, and you'll see in this race, that is very realistic to how it could happen in the race. But there's also many moments leading up and further in the video that I will bring out that definitely threw me off to be why I wouldn't want to do AI racing all the time. And it is definitely beneficial to think faster about how am I going to do this overtake, because the AIs do act a little abnormal, out of the reach of what most people would react. And so it makes you have to think a little bit harder to maybe not how it should go. Maybe that's not good. Maybe it is. It keeps you on your toes. But throughout this race, I was struggling to get used to this car. It's a car I actually have never used in this game, and they only give you a couple of options here on the offline mode. So I was just getting used to it. Didn't even do warm-up laps, just went straight into it. But as you can see, all the cars do still kind of follow the slipstream lineup. They're all kind of in single file. And you can see they're pressuring me there. I was going off the track a little bit and they weren't allowing me any space. That's a little bit more like the real online racing, which is good because you want it to be as realistic as possible. So you see I went really wide there and messed up, just trying to keep myself on the track. So compared to how they react towards you coming up on them and trying to do an overtake to these AIs, I do think at times it could be beneficial to making you become better as a racer by practicing with AIs. But at the same time, there's many scenarios where you're so confused on why the hell an AI or anyone would ever make a move like that. As I'm going to the back end of that car messing up myself. And there's many parts with AI that definitely needs improvement. That doesn't make sense. That definitely makes you question why would I really even want to race against AI. So I think personally, in GT7, Racinig Ai, when it comes to the realism of how they react towards you trying to overtake them compared to actual online races, I think it'd probably be like a 6 out of 10 comparison of how good it is. There's so many interactions where it just like, that makes no sense. You would never see that happen in a race. And just letting you know, I am also on the hardest setting of AI right now, which is the professional level. I don't think it should be considered professional with how they react and stuff. It's probably like if you were to give it a rating in GT7, I'd probably say it's closer to a C rating. with how they react in some of their moves, and they're very questionable at times. And do AI drivers create enough of a variation of different driving styles within all of the tracks, all of the races, and even when it comes to the settings of difficulty of the AI? I do think they have a little bit of element of surprise here and there, but I do not think it is enough compared to what you would normally see in real racing or online racing in GT7. It is very rambunctious at times, as you will see in these videos. It is a little bit off, and there's moves you would see that you never would see online, questionable ones. But I do think they have a pretty wide variety of driving styles, as like you drive on any other map, and also different cars, like GT3, GT2, Formula 1, all sorts of racing like that. You kind of see them all react just a little bit different, which is nice because that is the element of surprise, and it's also more realistic because you never really see everyone driving the same driving style. So for that factor, I think GT7 has a great system put in place for driving styles for AI. And you guys are only seeing the ones here on Le Mans. If you go to other tracks, they definitely change up, and it is definitely improved on other tracks as well. I think once you get closer to B ranking and up to A and A plus ranking, I don't think AI racing is really that beneficial, because like I was saying in the the video that I'm showing right now in the Le Mans track, racing with the hardest rating professional, quote unquote, level ranking drivers of AIs. As you could tell, I started 20th. Right now I'm in 4th place. I'm not even professional, so these are definitely not that hard of AIs, even though it's the hardest that the game offers. So I think once you get to B ranking and higher, honestly, even just mid C ranking, AI racing's not worth it. It's maybe if you just want to have some fun off the record, it's there. It's there for fun. It's not really competitive compared to what you would normally see in races of online. Another thing I noticed while doing races with AI is that the divide between P3 and P4 is huge. I am in P4, so it kind of makes it a little bit different, but from right now it's 9.4 seconds to me to P3, and it is 3.2 seconds to me in P4. P3 and P4 don't even have competition, which a lot of times is not the same within real racing. As you can tell, there's a huge divide. In every single map track I've ever raced on in this game with AIs, I've noticed there's a huge divide. Right after 3rd place of AIs, there's a huge drop off in skill level for the AIs. So if you don't catch up to, let's say, 4th place by 4 laps into the race, depending on how long the race actually is, this is a longer track, you are gonna have a huge divide of just clear road, nobody in front of you, and you're basically just racing by yourself until you actually catch up to P3, 2, and 1. That happens here and there in online racing, but you don't see that every race. And on AI races, you see that almost every single race, which is it's not good, not realistic. You don't see that happen online every single race, every once in a while, of course. I just did a race just before the recording of this. I was doing the round 2 of the Manufacturers Cup, and I've only done 1 race, and I think I might just keep it at that. I didn't get the best placement, but P1 and P2, I think they were 10 plus seconds away from P3. They were just gapping everyone. They weren't even close. They were doing really well and very consistent with minimal mistakes. Although the people further back, we were really fighting. We were really fighting for our positions throughout the whole race. There wasn't a dull moment in that race, and I'll show you guys that one in the next video. But going into races like that, you just don't see those full eventful races in AI. And it's very hard to use AI to actually improve yourself once you've gotten halfway through C rating and above. I fully endorse the fact that you should use AI here and there when you're C ranking and below. Because a lot of those people who are in those rankings at the moment, they're just learning the game, they're figuring out how to race realistic, they're figuring out the racing lines, their braking points, trail braking, all those kinds of things. They're just learning them and hearing the terms of them for the first time. So I think racing of AI there is really good because you could learn how to trail brake while you're side by side next to an AI racer on a corner, and so that you can try to overtake them. Or you can learn how some AIs brake earlier than other AI cars, which happens in actual racing, so that you can become better at racing, so that you don't just brake at your braking point every single time and you keep slamming to the back of someone else because they might brake a tad bit earlier than you. So I think AI does make you better as a racer if you are in the lower ranks. Another big part about racing is that not all races are short, and most of them aren't. You normally are going to go into races that are 30 minutes and over if you're trying to actually go into about 15 plus laps on those tracks. And that's where the most skill is played out, in my opinion. Reason being, when you're in an endurance race or a longer race in general that's anything over 15 minutes, you have to be extremely consistent, even when battling other people trying to get positions. Because in a short race, yes, you can make some mistakes here and there, and most people do, because you're kind of just getting warmed up to a degree on the first 2 laps. You're just settling in, and so you will on an endurance race, but nobody's going to be pushing their absolute hardest on the first few laps in an endurance race most of the time. With AIs and endurance races, as you can see in this one, this was about a 40-minute race on the Le Mans track, 10 laps, 4-ish minutes per lap, if you aren't messing up like I was. And the AIs, like I was saying, it's a huge divide. They don't operate the same as you would in most races. Granted, there are big divides in endurance races, but like I say, in the P3 to P4 situation, it's just huge, and the longer the race goes on, the bigger that gap gets. And there's no like skill inquiry where the P4, okay, maybe they start having a good few laps and they start catching up. It doesn't really work that way. It only works that way for the top 3 AI racers. So I think the AI system in shorter races is a little bit better of usage, but in endurance racing, no. I don't recommend it at all. I'd say go into an online race and try to accumulate some people to do an endurance race that way, or you could probably find Discords where you could set up a race like that. Never done that. I'm sure there are people out there who are doing that, although. And that'll wrap up the end of the video of, is racing with AI worth your time at all, and can you even progress off of it? Now, I think you can for some people I may not. Personally, I'd always just try to do online races, and that's where you'll progress the best, because you'll have the biggest variety of driving styles and people to compete with. And that'll be it for the rest of the video. Thank you guys for watching, and tell me what you guys think about the AI racers in the comments.